You are Locked On Pistons Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Detroit, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Oh, Cade Cunningham! What a way to win it for the Detroit Pistons. Welcome into a live Locked On Pistons postcast. I am your host, Jake Rietma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Rietma, formerly with 97.1 The Ticket, now with Locked On Sports Detroit. And nights like tonight are why we do it, folks. Cade Cunningham in a tie game pulls up from the top of the key and banks it in. The bank is open and the Pistons win it 116-113. What a road win. We're going to break it all down. I'll have my turning point at the game. We'll have our player of the game and so much more. So buckle it up, dial it in. It's all coming up next on a live Locked On Pistons postcast. Thanks as always for making the Locked On Pistons postcast your post-game destination. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts and, of course, on YouTube. And how about Locked On Pistons? Shout out to Koo. And don't forget your favorite Pistons podcast now has a newsletter. That's right, the Locked On Pistons daily newsletter available to you for free at Locked On Pistons at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. Make sure you sign up for free. And away we go, because let me tell you, the Pistons didn't always have their A game in this one. There were times where they lacked creativity on the offensive end. There were times in which they turned the ball over far too often. But when it mattered the most, this Detroit Pistons team buckled down, especially defensively, and they pounded the glass and were able to come up with some second chance points in really pivotal points in this game. And it is just a testament to what this team is built on. The strength of the team being the grit, the determination, the resolve, the resiliency, and it all comes together with a Cade Cunningham game-winning three-pointer. And oh, by the way, he messed around and got a triple-double. That's right, 25 points for Cade Cunningham. Go ahead and give him 11 assists and 12 rebounds. And the Pistons have won 2 in a row. And listen, I make a bigger deal of this. We talked about it the last time the Pistons were on ESPN and when they blew out the 76ers, and they were the lowly 76ers, so who cares? But this, a little bit more of a marquee game for a national audience. I already have people hitting me up on Twitter, on the social media, which you can too as well. Text messages, more NBA fans watching this game than the average midweek game. And so to see the Pistons, and in particular Cade Cunningham, to come out and get a win like that in dramatic fashion, put some respect on it, just like JB Bickerstaff said after the loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder. This team is good for the league, of that I'm sure. So let's go ahead and get right into it. We're not going to waste any more time, folks. It's time for what everyone's going to be talking about.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Me, you, every NBA fan is going to be talking about the gritty Detroit Pistons. Cade Cunningham, Motor Cade, Jalen Duren getting offensive rebounds, a double-double for him. He's a double-double machine. Malik Beasley off the bench, draining three-pointers and showing the shimmy afterwards. It's all what is forming the personality of this team. And don't look now, but this team has the aura of a problem for the opposition in the postseason. I want to get to the comments here in a second as well, because I know you're fired up as well. But this is the type of game that can catapult a team to close out the regular season and give them the type of momentum going into the postseason to make some noise. And I know I'm getting ahead of myself, putting the cart before the horse, whatever you want to call it, but tonight makes me believe. Now, was it a perfect game? Absolutely not. There's way too many turnovers. In fact, when it was 110-109, it stayed that score for a little over 2 minutes. Both teams turned it over several times. It was a really impressive block by Cade Cunningham when the Heat had the basketball in that point, and he somehow kept the ball in bounds. But too many turnovers from both teams, really. And then Cade made that three to give the Pistons the lead. They get a stop, but the next possession, very stagnant, no ball movement. It eventually comes to a head with a shot clock violation. I believe it was Tobias had nowhere to go with it, and the shot clock sounded. and a 113-111 game. You know, Tyler Hero, give him credit. The Heat got the isolation they wanted. They got the switch they wanted, and Tyler Hero ended up on Jalen Duren, or I should say Jalen Duren ended up guarding Tyler Hero off the bounce. Couldn't quite get by him, so he gets him up in the air with a little head fake, draws the foul, a smart, savvy play by Tyler Hero, hits the 2 free throws to tie the game at 113. But that's when Motorcade takes the game into his own hands. And it was interesting listening to the ESPN broadcast with Mark Jones talking about how just give the ball to Cade and, with only 5 seconds left on the clock, let him make the play. And that's exactly what JB Bickerstaff drew up in the Pistons. And by the way, the execution, flawless. And I don't know if Cade called bank, but all is well that ends well. And as Mark Jones said, he had to use the Cash App because the banks aren't open. How about that? Let's get into those comments. We lead it off with Daniel Berry Sports Highlights checking in. One of the regulars, we say hello. Billy Band says Cade MF Cunningham. That's right. That's how we're going to remember tonight. And he says it was clutch. Completely agree. Frank Norman says, let's go Pistons. What up, though? Demetrius McNeil, regular here, says Cade says game over. On to the next. That's exactly right. And the next team, the Detroit Pistons, will be playing the Dallas Mavericks right here in Dallas. I'll be there. I'll be credentialed for that game and have a great view of everything that's going on at the AAC when the Pistons and Mavs get together. But more on this game because, my goodness, it's the type of momentum springing game that will have a lasting effect. And again, we go back to the barometer that we set when following this team night in and night out after JB Bickerstaff's rant. We can call it a rant after his post-game sound off where he went off on the officials and said this Detroit Pistons team doesn't get any respect, which is true. The Pistons have responded by winning their next 2 games. And again, I'm going to use that point of the season as a barometer and a measuring stick for what this team does following that instance of their coach standing up for them. But my goodness, what a game tonight. You love to see it. And the guys on the broadcast calling him Motorcade. I get it. I guess that's his nickname. We got Anthony Deshawn in the comments saying Deuce. It's all good. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I love this Detroit Pistons team who now moves to 39-31, 21-15 on the road. Now, other observations I had in this game. How about Ron Holland and for Ron Holland getting into it with the Duncan Robinson for the Miami Heat? They had to be separated, a little scuffle there. And again, that's who this Pistons team is. I'm getting closer and closer to accepting it because that was a scuffle that didn't take the Pistons out of their game like we've talked about in past episodes. But man, that was another instance where things get a little chippy out there. That's part of the MO. I get it. But I think that's just going to have to be something that that you live with if this Pistons team continues to win games, which they have. So great stuff there. Anthony Deshawn says mellow yellow with the laughing emoji face. Completely agree. Hey, we can call Cade whatever we want to call him because he was out there getting buckets, which is great to see. All right, plenty more to come. This team found a way to win. We'll have our turning point of the game as well as the player of the game. So don't go anywhere. That's all coming up next on a live Locked On Pistons postcast here on Locked On Sports Detroit. Hey, this episode of the Locked On Pistons postcast is brought to you by Prize Picks. By now, you know all about Prize Picks, but listen up anyways, because basketball season is heating up. Heck, it has heated up, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks. It's the best place to play daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you just pick more or less on at least 2-player projections for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. It's easy to use. It's available in over 30 states, and it lets you mix and match projections across different sports. That's right. It's like a platter of greatness and excitement. What gets better than that? I'm not sure. You can build your line lineups this week. I'm taking Luka Doncic for more than 25 points and Jason Tatum for more than 8 rebounds. I just feel good about that. It has nothing to do with that being in the script. I just feel really, really good about that pick. No, I'm kidding around. I really do enjoy using Prize Picks all the time. It's quick and easy, makes it simple. You can set up your lineup in less than 30 seconds and stay engaged in a game that maybe you didn't care about as much, but with Prize Picks, it adds so much more to it. There's also fast payouts. When you win, your money hits your account in as little as 15 minutes. No waiting around. So download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Today's episode is also brought to you by Hungry Root. Hungry Root. That's right. When it comes to grocery shopping and meal planning, I've had this ongoing problem. I just don't have enough time between work, life, and trying to eat healthier. I was constantly feeling stressed out. I'd go to the grocery store, buy things I didn't need, and then end up with no time to actually cook. And sticking to my health goals, forget about it. That was a struggle too. Everything changed when I discovered Hungry Root. Honestly, it's been a game changer. It's the easiest way to eat healthy without all the stress. With Hungry Root, it's like having a personal shopper and a nutritionist all in one. They take care of your grocery shopping and recommending meals and groceries based on my taste, my health goals, and so much more, from anti-inflammatory to high protein and gluten-free options. It's all there, my friends. And the best part, every meal is ready in 15 minutes or less. I'm talking quick, healthy meals that actually taste great. In fact, you can eat it during halftime of the Pistons game and you'll be ready because it doesn't take that long to get ready. How about that? All delivered straight to your door. It's been a huge time saver. It has made healthy eating so much simpler. You're going to love Hungry Root as much as I do. So for a limited time, get 40% off your first box and a free item in every box for life. Just go to hungryroot.com/lockedonnba. It's a great offer, folks. hungryroot.com/lockedonnba and use code LockedOnNBA. That's hungryroot.com/lockedonnba. Code LockedOnNBA to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/lockedonnba. Code LockedOnNBA. Don't miss out. We've got lots of comments to get into. So before we get to our turning point, as well as our player of the game, I love the comments because that's what the post-game show is all about. Let your voice be heard. And that's what the Locked On POSTCAST had in mind when we launched this initiative. So up next, we got Trey McNichols, who says this is such a huge moment for Detroit basketball. Completely agree. We're going to look at this week in particular. And sometimes it's a coaching cliche. I get it, but sometimes you learn a lot from a loss. You learn more from a loss than you do from a win. And this Pistons team is going to learn a lot from that loss to Oklahoma City, to the post-game shenanigans, not even shenanigans, to the post-game fireworks with JB Bickerstaff and so on forth, that this might end up being one of those times that it was better in the long run to lose that game to where this becomes a turning point in the season. And tonight is an example of exactly that. Ashton Trainer says, Cade MF Cunningham, what a win, says T from the 203, stunner in Miami. There it is. We've got T from the 203 saying the Miami local feed was amazing. I watched it on ESPN. So there you go. I love the added insight. Man, Trey McNichols says Miami be damned. This just put the casual basketball fans, aka ESPN, etc., on notice. No doubt. You got to love that. Between JB Bickerstaff demanding respect and a big time win like this in front of a national audience, it's a good week for the Detroit Pistons. Question in here from Akeem the Dream. Was this our first nationally televised game? No, one other one. It was a Friday night at LCA. Pistons played the 76ers and boat raced them out of the gym. So, and nobody's going to give you respect for boat racing the 76ers. But yeah, it was a bigger moment later in the season, obviously. The Heat in that play-in position. But listen, the Miami Heat went to the NBA Finals as a play-in team at one time. So anything's possible. But all right, before we go any further, I got to give a huge shout out to one of our guys here on the Locked On Pistons that follows the show, which I appreciate, and let me know how much he hates the show, but he still listens, which I appreciate that. And so this goes out to my guy. Got to give him some respect here. What a guy. And even though he doesn't necessarily love the show, Bobby B, this show is dedicated to you. We're going to try and be better, give you a little bit more X's and O's analysis, off-ball screens, what the Pistons were doing. Were they trying to trap guys? Was Miami tried? They should have tried to trap Cade on that last possession, get the ball out of his hands, and Cade was able to knock down the three-pointer. But Bobby B, appreciate the feedback, man. Appreciate you listening. And even though your words hurt, I'm gonna try and be better. How about that? All right, good stuff. Wanted to address that for sure because I appreciate all the feedback on Twitter or wherever at Jake_Riepma. But without further ado, let's get into it. It's time for our turning point.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
All right, the bumper music tells you where this game was won or lost, and anyone with a brain knows this game was won when Cade knocked down the three-pointer. But how about some other parts of this game? The offensive rebounding down the stretch. That's how the Pistons got back into this game in the fourth quarter with the offensive rebounding, with the second chance points. That to me was a huge part of, I'll call it a mini comeback, because Pistons had to outscore the Heat by 8 in that fourth quarter to win by 3. They were down by 5 to begin that fourth quarter, but the offensive rebounding as a team was really on full display, a concerted effort to pound the glass. And one of the last possessions of the game, you saw Malik Beasley, a rare miss from beyond the arc because he was really good from 3. Malik Beasley for the Pistons off the bench was 5 of 10 from the long line, but he missed this one in particular. Jalen Duren gets the rebound and puts it back in. So the offensive rebounding from the Pistons as a team overall for the game, they come away with 13 offensive rebounds, and the second chance points were huge for the Detroit Pistons in terms of helping secure the win in this game. Now, player of the game, that's pretty easy. Let's go for it.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
It's Cade Cunningham. He delivers the final night assassination, a stone-cold killer, Cade Cunningham, the three-pointer to give the Pistons the win. 25 points on the triple-double. You got to love it. 11 of 25 from the floor. And just another example of Cade Cunningham taking that next step as an all-star and calling game with the banked in three-pointer. I don't even care that it was banked. Cade Cunningham, your player of the game, 3 for 4 from the long line, because let's not forget he hit that huge three-pointer to give the Pistons a 3-point lead with about 2 minutes left in the game, less than 2 minutes left. And then the Pistons got the stop, eventually led 113-111. So final 6 points from Cade Cunningham from beyond the arc, and 25, 11, and 12 boards as well. It's a wonderful evening for all Detroit Pistons fans everywhere. Thanks so much, as always, for tuning in. Upcoming schedule, we didn't get a chance to go through it because tonight's show just flew by, but the Detroit Pistons will be on the road against the Dallas Mavericks to conclude this little mini road trip. I'll be there Friday night at the American Airlines Center, then back home to take on a Pelicans team, and home on Tuesday against the San Antonio Spurs before the Cavs come to town Friday, March 28th. So listen, we never count our chickens before they hatch, or whatever the saying is, but you got 3 very winnable games coming up, 1 on the road and then 2 at home between the Pelicans and Spurs. So let's keep stockpiling some victories and see where it goes, because right now this Detroit Pistons team, again, I keep saying it and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, they are a problem for the opposition. And I don't think the New York Knicks want to see them. I don't think the Indiana Pacers want to see them. I don't think the Milwaukee Bucks want to see them. But at 39 and 31, they are right in the mix for that 4th, 5th, or 6th seed right now in the Eastern Conference. So that's what it's all about. You got to love it. You can't say enough about JB Bickerstaff, Trajan Langdon, and the rest of this organization. completely making a 180 with this team in their first year at the helm. So appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll do more Detroit Pistons post game. It will be a little bit later on Friday night. Admittedly, being at the game, I still want to get back and be in the comfort of the home studio here. But fortunately, just a short, quick walk for me, and then we'll get on with the post game show. So you got to love that. A couple more comments here to wrap up. Hakeem the Dream, Cade going down as top 5 point guard all time. Don't at me if you disagree. Good stuff there. T from the 203. Amon Ross St. Brown was at the game. That's cool stuff. You got to love it. Lions supporting the Pistons. It's all about Detroit versus everybody, baby. Awesome stuff. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. As always, it's a pleasure. Don't forget to check out your free Pistons newsletter at lockedondaily.com. Make sure you sign up for that. Check out Locked On Pistons with Kuka Heel, and subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit, because these post-game shows are pretty fun. They go by fast, but that's the live reaction show for you. Shout out Bobby B. Appreciate his feedback. Appreciate everybody's feedback. And we'll see you next time on the Locked On Pistons postcast here on Locked On Sports Detroit.